Open up. Hold on. You would like to open up episode 145 of the Ryan Divis Show, which is proudly brought to you by Chalet Bowl, talking about the greatest SNL performance in the history of musical acts. Chris
Sturgill
Stapleton
Simpson and
Chris Sturgill. I mean, it's
Chris Stapleton,
nothing better.
Sturgill Simpson. It's just talk about two powerful voices. I was looking at that concert in Missoula. I'm supposed to be covering the Rangers that weekend, and it could be the weekend that they could clinch the division. So do I have to go to that?
Do you have to go to the concert? Yes.
Can we send Andy Yamashita or Kate Shefty or somebody to cover that instead, and I go to Sturgill? Jude can go to a 98 degrees reunion tour, and we can call it good.
Is Andy the new Husky beat reporter?
Yeah.
Okay, nice yeah. I think just initiate Andy into covering some baseball playoffs. That's what I say.
Before we actually talk about baseball, so when I was home over the weekend, they have a jamboree tournament, a big tournament in my hometown in Havre. And like as part of the deal for like the dues of being on the team, besides paying a lot of money, but not like paying New Level or one of these places out here, the parents have to like volunteer to do stuff. And so while I am not officially a parent, I am a step rad, not a stepdad. I'm a step rad because I'm cool. I had to do the walk-up music for all the players, and I had to do the announcing for the final game. 3 times I called them now batting for the Mariners instead of the Havre North Stars. And then, so my girlfriend's son, Tyson, I changed all their walk-up music, to be honest. But Tyson and his girlfriend broke up, and they're doing the back and forth high school thing. So I played.
Terrible.
I played Taylor Swift. We Are Never Getting Back Together as his walk-up song, and his girlfriend wasn't there, but I heard that she found out about it quite quickly because it was snapped, And so I actually played that song twice, and then I played Posse on Broadway, and I got and just like because they got a new stereo in there, so it's got the bass, and so I played the very beginning, just like the rap, the first hit with the bass thumping, and everybody's like, ooh. And Tyson goes to me, he goes, might have to change that to that might have to be the permanent one. Is that Posse on Broadway? That kind of hit.
He had never heard that before.
No, well, he'd heard it a ton. Like it's on our when we hit and stuff and lift. I have that on one of the mixes because he gives me crap all the time. He goes, there was hip hop created after 2000. I said, not really. No. After the last Chronic album,
really wasn't.
After Tupac died and Biggie died, and after the last Chronic album, there's really been nothing of any note.
It's true. I mean, we're old, but that's I think that's true. So I love that you're the announcer. Like, when do you become Game Changer Dad?
Oh no,
no, excuse me. What are you again? Step Rad.
Step Rad. That's what Tim Booth called me. I think Step Rad because I'm the cool guy. I don't have. I buy him a ton of stuff, get him to hang out with JP and Julio at spring training stuff.
Oh, you're buying his love.
Oh, basically. I mean, like I also do baseball lessons with him all the time. I don't know. I know that you just friended me on Facebook, but you'll see there's a collection of videos of him dotting me in the cage where just hitting liners back and I can't get behind the L screen fast enough. He cracked my forearm 2 years ago. But yeah,
that's my first foray into Facebook. I was prompted by my social media director.
Yeah, you got to do it because old people
which is my friend's daughter.
Yeah. Old people need it. Jim Moore is very active on Facebook, so like guys like that.
Is he really?
So
Does he get political on Facebook?
No. He just it's basically just I'm old. I have no life. I'm a loser. I mean, it's the same thing as Twitter, just longer. So I'm even worse. So there's another kid on the team named Ezra, and he's about 5'4", maybe 5'5". He's a little Altuve out there. So I played Ski Low, I Wish as his walk-up song, and he didn't know what it was.
So he doesn't get it.
Oh yeah, and then like there was another kid I played Miley Cyrus, and then this one guy who thinks he's a ladies' man, but he can't get no girls. I had Call Me Maybe as his walk-up song, so I just was like. I was rolling, people loved it because like those guys just all play this horrible rap that is just terrible. I had one guy, I had Billy Squier, The Stroke. People were getting a little bit.
Good one.
Yeah.
My son for the longest.
I know how walk-up music works. Like when I was in school and they had walk-up, everybody had like the hip hop or the metal. I had the Outfield Your Love. I had it before Charlie Blackmon, I might add. I also
Okay.
had Asia, Heat of the Moment, the very part with the
Good.
guitar. And then when I was in a slump, I would use the Magnum PI or Beverly Hills 90210 theme song. So
I
those are,
love it. God, those
yeah.
are great. We have to do we have to do like a just the hits here one time on the show. Just play them all. Play them all and see what people would like. The my I think my son, I don't know, what does he do now? Does he do hip? I can't even remember what he does. No, he does oh shoot, it's gonna come to me. But for last year he had Barbie Girl.
Oh God, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I don't know if it was awesome, but it was just so terrible. It was so bad. But then we would be at these games and all the kids would be dancing to it. Every one of them. They all liked it.
There's one kid on the team. He's Latin, and his dad's Mexican. And I played "Insane in the Membrane" by Cypress Hill, where it says, "Who you getting crazy with? Ese, don't you know I'm loco?" And everybody's just going crazy.
Yeah.
So.
The way it should be, sir. Okay, Ryan Divish with us, episode 145, brought to you by Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley. Established in 1941 in Tacoma's Proctor District. Family owned and operated for 40 years. The Frederick family and staff specializes in customer service for your bowling, food, and fun experience while at our unique 12-lane facility. Go to chaletbowl.com, make your next reservations. You caused quite a stir with your "what would it cost" Vlad Guerrero. Boy, did people, Jesus.
Well, it's like
people just got up in arms. You are an idiot. Why would you trade those people for him?
I never said they would make the trade. That's probably what it's going to ask. That's what they're going to ask for. First of all, they'll ask for more. Because if you're going to trade a piece that you don't really want to trade, but you have to trade them, then you ask for more because somebody's dumb enough to give it. Okay? It took 4 people. It took 4 players, including 2 in the top 100, to get Luis Castillo for a year and a half. Vlad Guerrero plays every day. Okay. Luis Robert. It's going to take something. They're going to ask for a lot because they're everyday players. Okay. Like, I don't know if they're going to do it. I honestly don't think that the Blue Jays will trade Vlad, but like, that's what it's going to cost. And it's not based on my thoughts. I've texted some people within the organization. I've texted some people outside of baseball that say this is what they'll ask for. It's not whether or not the Mariners can find ways to give. The Mariners have enough depth. And then the other thing is like, well, I have guys saying, well, Colt Emerson is better than Cole Young. And they're all 18 years old. Like, you don't know what they are. They're 18 or 19.
That's,
you know,
can you just stop
it's
there?
Like that.
Can we just stop there, though? That's what drives me nuts about this. Is this, you can't possibly get rid of Colt Emerson or Cole Young. And again, I always confuse them, but now you've corrected me, because now all I think about when I think of Colt Emerson is the Thunder Thighs. So I think Colt, Thunder Thighs, now I know who it is. But they're 18 years old.
Yeah.
Like, you have no idea. First of all, is he 3 years away? 4 years away? I mean, so you want to not improve the team because of a guy that may be good in 4 years, may be good. That's what I don't get about some of these fans. And hold on, just give me 30 seconds on this rant, because it just drives me insane with some of them, because it's the same fans that will complain about not acquiring good players. They, well, why did we get any good players? And then when you say, well, there's a trade, we can go out and get an established player, but it's going to cost you this guy. Oh, well, we can't do that. We can't. Why would we do that? He's going to be the next Gunnar Henderson. Really? He could be, but he could also be the next Victor Robles, who at one point, for people who don't know, was a higher ranked prospect than Juan Soto.
Top 5.
I mean, it's no guarantee. He's 18 years old.
When Juan Soto was called up, he was called up from high A because of injuries, and then he just stuck. Like, they didn't know, he was really bad defensively. Like, Robles was the guy because he had some pop. He had lightning fast hands. He could really play defense. He could run. He was 5 tool. Like, so if you want to remember Cole Young has kind of got the Michael Young rhythm to his swing. He doesn't have the toe tap.
But I got the Emerson thing. I got the Colt now with the big thighs. But I mean, just continue on your point that these two guys are 18 years old, 18 years of age, and then they have so much depth and talent right now in that middle infield that they're going to have to move somebody eventually.
Yeah, Cole Young is the closest of the 3. I mean, he's playing in Double-A. Okay, he'll likely be in AAA by the end of the season. You could see him by the end of the season if something were to happen. But like,
Hmm.
it's so funny. Those guys are so far away. You know, if you say a year, even if they went, like, even if they went like, because like if you go, usually you start. If you saw like this year, Emerson started in Modesto. That's where he finished last year. So even if you do that cycle, that's 3 years. You know, it's a hard jump to go to the big leagues. It's like Harry Ford. I mean, it's even longer with a catcher. And you know, I remember like, so here's a list of names that you were never supposed to trade: Carlos Triunfel, Nick Franklin, Chris Taylor, which that actually
Yep.
ended up be bad. I'm trying to think who else. Like they had this. I think it was Brian
Dustin
Bailey.
Ackley, right? I mean, I don't
Dustin
even remember
Ackley,
if Dustin
yeah.
Ackley was going to be traded, but you couldn't remember the catchers. Remember the
Steve,
catchers you couldn't trade. You
yeah.
couldn't trade. You couldn't
Adam
trade Adam
Moore.
Moore.
Adam Moore. And they had, you know, they had Steve
Who was
Barron.
the dirtbag catcher though? But who was the one that ultimately was kind of better? Who was the other guy at the same time with Adam Moore that they had? It was kind of
Rob Johnson. They had Rob Johnson, Adam Moore, Jeff Clement, all three in the one group.
Right.
You know, and then they had John Hicks, who was another guy. Can't trade John Hicks. You know, it's like, and then granted, these guys are like elevated, but and they're top prospects. They really are. And maybe one of them turns into a star. But you know what is hard to turn into is a superstar.
Yes.
Jared Kelnick was supposed to be a star, borderline superstar.
Yeah.
Right? So like the leap that goes from the minor leagues to major league success is high. Also, the idea of keeping all your prospects and being afraid to deal them sometimes, and you know, because you need young players to keep the system going. You know what that kind of follows? What philosophy that follows? That keeping all your prospects and building sustainable success. It starts with a number. You know, 54%.
54%.
Because like it's like
just want to be good for
sustainable success over time. Okay. And they what they've done is, because they've been really good at drafting and not taking Jeff Clement instead of Troy Tulowitzki, or not, you know, doing those sorts of things, they have stacked talent in the system. And I mean, Scott Hunter deserves a raise, him and his scouts, because they have been really good. But like, they have enough talent in the system now to maybe move one of these guys, and you have to decide which one the right one is. But you're not going to get talent without giving up talent. This isn't your fantasy league where somebody just doesn't pay attention and they're stupid. Okay, now you can argue whether or not.
And when you say that, are you looking at me? Because
No.
I feel like you're talking to me.
I'm the guy who never changes his lineup. All right, when we get into football season, and
I'm the worst. I'm the worst
because I just don't care. You know, I really don't. I'd rather bet on the games in my fantasy.
So,
team.
but let me just, because I said something yesterday on Twitter, and I phrased it wrong, but the point was, hey, because people are upset. Well, you can't get rid of this talent. I'm like, well, when's the last player that they have developed? And what I meant was a draftable player. Like, who have they drafted? Not a pitcher, a positional player. Who's the last positional player they have drafted and developed? Now it's Cal Raleigh. He's the one. Now I know there's other ways to do it. That doesn't take into account Julio.
International signings. Yeah.
International signings. But for the most part, since they have been here, they have done it on the pitching side. They've been unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unreal.
So
but like positional players, they haven't hit, right? It's fair to say the success rate they've had with pitchers, they have not had that with positional players yet.
No, it's true. And it's harder for positional players to have success than develop. And, you know, you can get on them sometimes for how they developed or how they handled it. You know, whether or not Jared Kelnick was ready to come up and then bat leadoff when they brought him up. You know, was he ready to do that? Probably not. They did it because they were scuffling and they did exactly what they said they weren't going to do. You know, from even before the handling of Mike Zunino back in the day. And like, also just like monitoring Dustin Ackley. Don't let him change his entire swing just because he had a 250 hitting season. All these kinds of things. So realistically, we used to keep track of this. Of players drafted, not like acquired. Of players drafted by the Mariners, it went from Alex Rodriguez and then Kyle Seager were the last position players drafted by the Mariners that made the All-Star team, because Kyle's never made the All-Star team. Okay.
Right.
Mitch Haniger, Daniel Vogelbach. Those guys made the All-Star team. Then out with, you know, they were acquired. Nelson Cruz, Robinson Cano, all those guys. So yeah, like somebody that they drafted, a position player that's moved their way up in the system and became an all-star that's the list. Kyle Seager, recently. Obviously, we think Cal's probably an all-star on some level, so he could get there.
Yeah.
But like, look at their best players, their position players. It's Julio, and now Julio's an all-star. They signed him. Jose Lopez was an all-star. They signed him.
Right.
But like, they haven't had that.
I want to do. I'll give them. I will. I mean, listen, they acquired him differently, but I'm going to give them credit for that. Was the point was like, because those guys were drafted. We were talking about Emerson and Young, and we're talking about Harry Ford. Those guys were drafted. That was my point. Is like they just have not had a great success rate at that, and I just wouldn't be, I just not in love with prospects. Like you can build a team a bunch of different ways, and the success rate of those guys that you just mentioned they don't hit all the time. And if they're, you said it the other day, like Ford's value will never be higher than it is right now.
Yeah. Well, like you don't get a banner. If they could, I mean, the Mariners would find a way, but you don't get a banner for having the top farm system in all of baseball or having 7 top 100 guys. You don't get a banner for that. You don't have a parade for that. Okay. So that's where what they're running into. And the part of the reason you have a good farm system isn't just to develop your own talent and restock it, but it's to use it to supplement.
Right.
Okay. I mean, like, how do you get over the top? And we mentioned it the other day. Do you think the Cubs, when Gleyber Torres had that monster first year and people are like, oh, I bet the Cubs regret it. No, they had a huge parade. They won a World Series. The cachet that you get from that, like the Rangers, the Rangers last year killed themselves financially, and they gave up a lot of prospects to get Montgomery and Max Scherzer and all this stuff, and it didn't all work out. But they won a World Series. Do you think they regret it?
They don't regret it. Of course, they don't regret it.
Yeah, the big shiny rings reminding you that they weigh your hands out.
Do you think there's some in this fan? And I'm asking you to understand a fan base, and I know it's difficult, but do you think there's some in this fan base that are just what is it? They gun shy because of past trades have not worked out for this team. Because some of these guys feel that they're not old enough to remember the Adam Jones deal or to remember Jason Varitek and Derek Lowe. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that. But doesn't cause me to be, gun shy about pulling this stuff off. But why is it that some in this fan base are just so scared to take a chance to make the team better at the cost of prospects? I don't kind of understand that line of thinking.
Yeah. I mean, like, there is that, for under Dipoto, they lost Pablo Lopez and Freddie Peralta, and they lost them. And then they were really young. They were kind of 18, 19-year-old kids.
Okay.
You lost Freddie Peralta for Adam Jones. At that point, Freddie Peralta wasn't kind of who he is now. And Lopez was pretty young. They got, that one was for David Phelps. And really, people were mad about. People were mad about. Yeah, people were more mad about the outfielder. I think they gave up in that deal, who was a young prospect who I don't think's ever. Yeah. I think he's done. So yeah, I mean, there is that, but there's also, because of Twitter and because of social media, we can see prospects like Mariners Minor, that dude or dudes or whoever runs that program. They provide everything, so people get even more attached to prospects. They're not just an idea. You've seen them. And of course, we got all these amateur scouts out there assessing who's better or not based off of video clips and this and that. I mean, they don't show the mistakes or anything. It's like everybody's like, oh, Tyler Locklear is ready. He's a good first baseman. I just seen him make a catch over his shoulder.
Oh, I saw it, but I saw like someone do that yesterday. Like did he have a double yesterday or a home run?
Yeah.
He's ready. Oh, no, he's ready to come up and spell Ty France. I'm like, you just got up there.
And also, like, you have to take results in the Pacific Coast League with a big grain of salt. Jose Marmoleos was freaking Babe Ruth in the PCL.
Yeah.
Zach Deloach had a 900 OPS in the PCL. You have to take it with a grain of salt.
But it's more. But it go back to Locklear for a second. It's more impressive what he did in Arkansas.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think he can hit. Like they said, they have concerns about some of the swing and miss and the defense and whether it's every day. And they have a DH. And he actually had a good game yesterday. He did. Like, I don't know. Like, you can. Is it a lot to give up for Vlad, considering he has been a little up and down? Yeah, it is. It's a lot. I mean, it's a lot to give up. And whether or not what version of Vlad you're going to get, the numbers, coming to Seattle isn't going to help his numbers. Although, I think some of the Blue Jays hitters aren't happy with the new dimensions and Rogers Center, and kind of made it a little tougher to hit in some spots. But like, yeah, you can argue whether or not he's that good to help you. You can argue whether or not Luis Robert is that good, like, and that healthy to help you. I mean, there's a lot of Julio and Luis Robert, but less healthy. There's a lot of swing and miss. But then don't get, like, you have to give up something to get these guys. And it's because, like, where these teams are at, and once you decide to trade a player that's high level of impact, one, they want talent in return. They want, because they have to sell it to their fan base too, as well. It's not just like the idea of the baseball side of it, because if it was the baseball side, yeah, some of the people that run the Marlins and the White Sox aren't very smart. But like, you have to sell it to your fan base too. Like, yeah, we're giving up a guy that we just gave a bunch of money to, and we promoted as one of our stars, but here we got these guys that are going to make us better in the end. So they have to, you have to do that. You can't, like, the purpose of a trade isn't to win it like everybody thinks. It's for both teams to address needs.
Correct.
And so, like, if you're giving up a controllable player because you're shitty, then you got to get something in return. And I just think that's where the fan base is. Like, you can't get mad if you give up talent to get a guy.
Yeah.
But you can't also get mad. Well, I guess you can, because you're a fan. You can do whatever you want. Like, I don't care. You can believe whatever you want. But what I'm going to tell you is like, it costs talent to get talent. You're not, look at what some people thought they gave up too much to get Luis Castillo. Did they? Did they give up too much?
Nothing. That's the thing with Castillo, right? And you're right. People did. But if you look back, it hasn't hurt them in one iota. I mean, the primary guy from the deal is not even, he's not even back yet, is he? He's coming back at the end of the month?
Yeah, he's not. And the other one is out for the season with shoulder surgery after having
here's the thing.
Like, you wonder too, though, the one difference is like, and I don't think they knew that they were going to be able to sign Castillo to an extension when they traded for him, but that made it even better that they a very affordable extension. That made that trade even bigger win.
Yeah, and I would say this that would cause me to be concerned about Guerrero would be that. Yes, you got to have him for one.
Yeah, he's not going
to for one more year, but is he going to? Can you re-sign him? And I would say I don't trust this ownership to re-sign him at all.
No, but can you win a World Series in that year and a half?
Yeah, and then it's worth it. And
that's
for those who are like, oh, he's taking a step back. He's not as good anymore. Okay, for one, he had a terrible start to the season. Since May 1st, okay, he's hitting .361. He's slugging over 500. And he's got an OPS at 950. So he has turned it around since the start of the season. And I did laugh at, he's a terrible defender. I don't watch him every day. I can look at all the stats and tell me. I mean, he's probably maybe he's not as good a defender as Ty France. But when I was hearing all the people saying, well, you can't go get him, and then I'm watching that game yesterday, and I had it on TV, and he makes an over-the-shoulder catch running out into right field. I'm like, well, he's really terrible. I mean, he made a pretty athletic catch yesterday. So I don't know. I mean, you get intel, and that's what it would cost. It doesn't seem like a lot of people want to do it. I'm all for acquiring good players.
I mean, like, you could try, and to avoid Emerson, you may have to give up Farmelo, who some people think might have the potential to be, a game changer because of his speed. Maybe it's Cole Young. Maybe it's, I think Cole Young, Colt Emerson sit the highest.
Who do they feel is better? Do they have a feeling on one of them? Do they feel Young is better?
I think they think Young has a higher floor or whatever. I get that confused too. I think he has the higher floor, but Emerson has the higher ceiling.
I always get that confused too, and I don't understand it, but I think they do understand it.
I think they think that, like, Emerson might not have 25 to 30 home run potential in him. He might have 20, but he'll hit for a higher average, where they think Emerson has the chance to hit 30 some bombs when he fills out. I mean, look at his legs, for God's sakes. I think that's kind of where they're at, but again, that's a ways down the road. And you don't know, like, by the time Colt Emerson is ready to go, you'll have had to make a hard decision on two of your pitchers and your catcher by then too. I mean, you're talking 2 years down the road.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, and that's the thing, is you don't want Jerry Dipoto and Scott Servais, regardless of what their contract situation is right now, you don't want them, trying to make moves to keep their job. But you want them to make moves to help them to help them
They
win.
need to make him move to keep their job. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is, I mean, this has got to be it, man. If they cannot do it this year, at some point,
if they don't make the postseason, I'd be stunned.
I mean, if they don't make the postseason, I mean, you clean house. I mean, it's sorry. You clean house if you don't make. I mean, I think they'll make it. I think they're going to get in, but at least they look like they're going to get in. So clean house.
You were mentioning that Vlad has a 950 OPS since May 1st. What do you think? Who do you think has the highest OPS for the Mariners since May 1st?
Since Raley.
Yeah, he's at 896. Yeah. Dylan Moore's at 804. They don't have anybody in the 800s besides those two. Then it's Ty France, 761. Then it's J.P. Crawford, 743, which I think is huge for the Mariners, how well J.P.'s been playing lately.
So awesome.
Then it's Julio at 702.
Wow.
Since, that's a big deal. Like Rojas, 629. Cal, 638, who's been kind of scuffling. Mitch Garver, 670. Haniger, 558. Canzone, 515 in limited playing time. So it's like, again, it's like, is he better than what you have? I mean, yeah, and that's not a high bar to set, but, it's like me being the best looking sports writer in the Seattle market. It's not a high bar, but it's still a bar, and it's still better.
Not even close.
I am. I'm way better looking than Jude.
Not even close.
I'm handsome. Jude is like, Jude is K-pop cute.
Yeah, but handsome. The hair and the gel, that's what separates him. Yeah. Okay. It's the LA gel. Yeah, do you think he still uses LA gel?
I got a distinguished kind of rugged.
You do.
Montana
you have a mountain man look, and that's appealing. It's appealing to the girls out there. Okay, so listen, we've talked a lot about Vlad Guerrero. What about Luis Robert? What is that? Let's piss off the Mariner fan base. What do you think? What do you think that it takes to get Luis Robert?
I mean, it's essentially the same.
Really?
I think you have, but do you have one more year of Robert, though?
He's like through 27.
Yeah, and I mean, he doesn't make hardly any money.
He makes $50 million.
I mean, like, honestly, from kind of like you ear to the ground and you hear people talking, I think the Mariners believe that Luis Robert is more workable. I mean, they tried. So when they got Gregory Santos,
they tried to get him then.
I mean, they were looking at Robert, and they were looking at that time Dylan Cease, but like they were really looking at Robert too as finding a way to make that work, and it didn't. And I think the White Sox, they weren't certain. I don't know how they didn't know they weren't certain they were terrible, because I mean, it's a dumpster fire. They don't play hard. They've quit. I mean, those guys are probably doing the cheer for Cancun every day.
They have totally tapped out the whole thing.
Oh no, and like I don't like. Do I think that Pedro Grifol was like the best hire? No, I think he, and like he's not very well liked around baseball. I liked him because he was always really good to me when he was with the Mariners, but he is so over his skis, and the players don't trust him or believe in him or have any respect for him. And so
go back to Robert for a second. So you think it's still the same package? It can't be the same package, right? I mean, because they've got him. They've got him locked up even more than you would have Vlad Guerrero. He's a highly regarded player. I mean, when he's healthy, but therein lies the rub with him, right? He's never healthy. He's been battling. He's got 2 hip injuries that he's been dealing with, that he's dealt with already in 5 years.
Yeah, I think that's why the number goes down. The cost goes down. The player capital goes down. Is because he's not healthy and he's been hurt a lot. So he's making 12.5 this year, 15 next year. And then his club options are $20 million in 26 and 27, but they're club options, so you can buy him out at $2 million if you really didn't like him. So it's like he just doesn't. So he's kind of like the strikeout percentage is like Julio a little bit, and he just doesn't play. I mean, he's really talented, and he can be a game changer when he's on the field. I mean, you put him in right field and Julio in center, like you're getting some baseballs covered, And I just don't know. I think that's the rub. Is like, how do you know? He's played 10 games this year. He's just came back. He's played 10. He's only played more than 100 games once, and that was 2023.
And that's when he had a monster. And that's when he had a monster year.
Yeah, he had 38 bombs and drove in 80 runs. Wait, you hit 38 bombs and only drive in 80 runs? Holy cow! He strikes out 29% of the time. He's currently striking out 44% of the time. So he'd fit right in with the M's.
That's what I'm saying. He's the perfect player. He's the perfect player for them.
I don't, that what'll be interesting to see is like where some of these other teams are at.
But does it still cost them? But let me jump in, Ryan. Does it still cost them an Emerson or a Harry Ford? It still does.
They're going to ask for it.
Well, I know what they're going to ask for.
They're going to ask for it. Yeah, I mean, it's a main guy. How about? I know they're not cratering now. They're 3 games under 500. But what if the Diamondbacks said, "Hey, do you want Ketel Marte back? Would you take him?"
Would I? Yeah, I would.
Yeah, like, hey, we'll trade you some guys. Ketel Marte back. He's under contract for a while too. I mean, switch hitter, can play multiple positions, but could play second base for you. Yeah, I mean, like, he's gotten a lot better. What is he at? So he's through. Holy criminy, Ketel Marte. He's under control for 25, 26, 27. Mm-hmm. He has a club option in 28, and he never makes more than 14 or more than 16 million in any year.
You like to deal with Arizona. You've done it in the past.
Yeah. I mean, like, Adam Jude's been calling for Christian Walker.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's pretty good. The Diamondbacks are an interesting team. Would they do something? You're looking – they're still in it a little bit, so it's kind of hard to sit there and say, oh, they're not going to do anything. Will the Mariners will probably do something. I mean, I would say they could do something for Brent Rooker, but the A's just don't like trading with them. The Rays are going to probably, I guess they're okay. They're 2 in the wild card. They're 31-31. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't look at the Marlins and like Jesus Sanchez or any of those guys and think, oh God, you got to get him, I don't know. I mean, that's where you're at, like, with this team. How are they going to do it with the rentals, or if they're going to bring in a guy? The Cardinals are starting to crater back a little bit too. They've already done the dance with them.
Hey, before I let you go, I want to know, when do we expect Logan Evans to be here? How soon?
Oh man, I think by the All-Star break, if not after. I mean, some of it'll be predicated on what we see from Santos. As well, because Santos threw off the mound, bullpen yesterday, 15 pitches. That's a pretty good sign. So I'm thinking Santos. What are we? June 7th. You could see Santos by first week of July, maybe, if everything goes right. I think that's the buildup for Edwin Diaz, and I'd have to go back and look. And if I was a better teammate, I was gonna go back and look at my stories on that and send them to Jude, but I was freaking lazy. Like
your game,
I think it was a month.
Brad,
I think it took a month.
Being, step around.
I think it took a month. It took a month for Brash as well. A month, and so like the final test is if he goes back to back. See how he goes there. And part of it is just learning the routine. Adam's story today talked about how he's been talking with Brash, and that's really good because it took Brash a while to figure it out. And I think having somebody to talk to him about it is good. You could see him by then. I think. It's important. Munoz is supposed to be playing this weekend. At least they think he is. So it's something to monitor. The back strain with Munoz is something he's just going to have to deal with. It's kind of like with Cal Raleigh. People talk about it. They saw all the cupping marks on his neck and upper back. Like Cal's been dealing with a neck issue for the last year and a half. He's so banged up physically. And I think, as tough as he is, I think it leaks into his hitting sometimes that you're so beat up. It's hard to hit
for sure.
You're trying to, nurse these guys through and everything else. So, I think by 1st of July or by All-Star break, we could see Logan Evans. Now, if he's dominant, maybe before then, but it's all about how he recovers too and how he handles the throwing routine and everything else. They want to build him up slow.
Well, it'll be fun to watch him. I mean, I liked the little piece that Jude did on it in the paper today, just getting to know Logan Evans a little bit more. You've been telling me about it for, it feels like the last month or so. So it'll be intriguing to see him once he gets up there. And we did, we went 30 plus minutes and even talk about Brian Wu. Here's one thing I want to say about Brian Wu. The guy, he doesn't miss a leg day. Jesus.
Yeah, he's Squatzilla. He's Quadzilla.
My God, he's been so fun to watch. Do we know what the hell happened? Why did he get a pitch clock violation?
I don't know. It's like I don't know either. I don't know if he didn't engage in the rubber on the mound fast enough.
The guy was dusting off the home plate.
It's so stupid. I know. It's just dumb.
Weird.
It's funny, and he got to 85, so people are happy. But it's like, just get him to 85. Like, who cares?
He's been great.
I mean, like, if it's 6 shutout,
I hear
do
you.
you want it to go?
You hear
it's
the go-to
it's
guys
really
already
good.
putting money on him for the Cy Young Award.
If you look at how he, and he's got kind of a different arm slot, but you look at how simple his delivery is and the rhythm to it and stuff. It's like, here, teach this kid this, and squat
it's
the
no
world.
Wasted
to help
movement
better.
when he throws.
It's really good, and I thought some people were mad. So some people were mad that they didn't pinch run Bliss.
I was,
for Cal.
Stupid.
Cal is one of the fastest catchers in baseball, like being one of the best looking. You're the best looking radio host or podcast host in the area. You're the best looking host at PuckSports.com.
Come on, there's no reason to have Bliss on the team if you don't do it.
Who was batting after Cal?
I can't remember.
First baseman, really slow.
Yeah, okay.
Cal represents the tying run. He can score from second, as we saw. He got a bad jump on that ball. There's no guarantee that Bliss goes on that because you're not trying to make the out at second base with no out.
I get that. I understand.
You know but so you have Ty batting because then who else was on the bench? They already used Garver. So all you had after Bliss was Sebi.
That's
they
what
used everybody else.
See, I'm convinced he didn't want to catch him in the bottom of the inning.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think so
that's
either.
Why
I don't think that they wanted to have Sebi catch.
If he didn't do that, then get him off the team and find somebody else.
Well, and I think we'll see that in the coming weeks.
What did you like? Okay, now you open up. I just didn't like the 3 decisions he made. I understand the pitch hitting situation with Garver. I don't know. I know it's a small sample size with Raley, but he's been one of your better hitters. I'd rather see him hit a left-hander than Garver at that point. That's just me.
I don't know. Like McFarland is like, he is what's the last remaining element of the lefty specialist. Who's that guy? Alex, what's his name? The guy that threw about 70 miles an hour out, and he pitched for the Rangers forever. So like he's kind of like that. I just like if you have Garver, but then again, it's the same difference. If you have Garver on the team, then pinch hit him. I mean, that's what he's there for, is to hit lefty.
I got you.
And I didn't think the at bat was horrible. I thought he got a tough call on one of them. I thought his at bats have been better. It's just not. So it's like you have to do it. It's no different. Again, like if Garver's sitting there and Raley's in the game and he's struggled against lefties, do you just leave him in or do you pinch it?
Bro.
It's the difference. It's like with Bliss. So I looked at I never really raised my one because Cal is a very smart base runner and he's faster than people think.
Stolen base yesterday, scored
and I
from
knew
second
that you're
yesterday.
saving.
Yeah, he's extremely fast.
Yeah. You want to use, like, if you have one position player left that you want to pinch run for, you're always going to use him for Ty France.
Yeah.
Ty was representing, so that's the way I look at it. Because you have to look, it's just not about that play. Even if Cal gets the second, they only tie the game. Fair. So if they only tie the game, then you got to have Cal, you have to have Sebi catch the back end of the bullpen. You've already burned Garver earlier in the game. And you don't have, and if Ty gets on as the winning run, or if it's tied, then Ty's going to have to start at second base, then, one of those innings possibly. You don't want that either. So I was like, I didn't really think of it that way. Okay. That's a problem on some level because they're just not very athletic and they're carrying an extra.
Who doesn't play at all? He never gets on the field for anything.
Yeah. And I mean, we could see a change in that, with Papirski or the Perez guy that they acquired in the deal with Blake Hunt. I mean, they both have big league experience. And I think part of it is you've come this far with Sebi. He understands all the players and everything. But I also, if you look at, and I don't know this per se, like they haven't complained to me off the record, but every one of those pitchers would prefer to throw to Cal. The starters, every one of those starters.
And then you see some of that. I think it was the response from Kirby the other day about how Garver. Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I mean,
it was pretty eye-opening.
And that's the thing.
How they feel about the other guy.
Yeah, we've dealt with that before. Like you remember, nobody wanted to pitch to anybody other than Zunino. Like we're living the Mike Zunino, like how they used him those last couple of years. Everybody,
who was the guy that they hated? Who was the other guy?
Oh God, was it Olivo?
I think it was Olivo, but they hated Olivo. But I thought there was another backup that they just hated more.
Well, they were all afraid of Olivo too. Oh, they hated Kelly Shopik for a while. They didn't like him.
You know,
they had to go get Hank White to come in because Henry Blanco
don't even remember that guy.
Yeah, I think I don't, like, I'm not saying that they complain about it or anything, but I think they feel like Cal is just at another level of game calling and preparation, probably more than most catchers. So they all would prefer it. It's like, I mean, like, you go to a bar, you go to your favorite bar, you have certain bartenders you prefer to be there. You're still going to put in the effort to drink at the bar, but it's a better experience.
Well, no one
likes a better performance.
No one likes a quitter. Okay. All right. Great stuff today. Man. Enjoy Kansas City. Okay. It's
Do I go to Oklahoma Joe's to get the brisket Z-Man sandwich with the spicy provolone and the onion ring on top of brisket on a bun? Or do I go to Q39 and get the sausage and brisket plate?
I think you be a man, and I think you go to both. Why
I'm not doing both.
Be a man.
I got it spaced out. I think I'll go to Joe's today because it can get kind of busy. Can't go to about 1 because it's
go enjoy yourself.
Right, and it's 90 degrees here.
Hot. That's too hot. No, get some talc on, get some baby powder. Ryan Divish, brought to you by Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley, established in 1941. Family owned and operated for 40 years, specializing in customer service, your bowling, food, and fun experience. While at their unique 12-lane facility, go to chaletbowl.com to make your next reservations. Episode 145 in the books. Ryan Divish, pucksports.com. Thanks, Dev.